You hear my doves in the background?
Yeah.
You got doves?
2.
Oh, wow. You got a zoo.
I really do.
TV's about to get muted.
For real. You got doves, you got dogs. Goodness gracious.
No,
It's a
don't
fun
mute
house.
yourself.
You can totally leave it on. You don't have to mute yourself.
I was just kidding.
We are officially live, y'all.
Yep, it's Pastors Unfiltered. Real talk, Kim, you see that?
Hold up. I see us.
Come on, let's
Hey,
go.
y'all.
We're in that.
Yeah.
You can totally leave it on. Oops, that's me. Being
Unfiltered.
unfiltered. All right, so Denver, want to kick us off?
All right, first and foremost, welcome back to Pastors Unfiltered. This is episode 7. This episode is brought to you by Baby's Mama's Lawn Care Service. They cut your grass and your paycheck. And as always, dope sauce, the best sauce, is now available. My name is Denver, and we have a very special Pastors Unfiltered today. It's the Girls Gang Takeover.
Come on.
Yeah.
Gang, girl, gang.
With me, as always, my pastor, my friend, Pastor Muta Mwenya.
What up, what up, what up? So glad that you guys are here. Thank you, ladies, for joining us. We have been anticipating this all week. So excited for you guys to be here. So what we're gonna do is just give you guys a real quick opportunity to just introduce yourselves and take it away. We'll go with Pastor Julie. We'll start with Pastor Julie.
Hey, I am Julie Signorelli. My husband and my husband's Mike, and we pastor a church called V1 Church. What else do you want to know? Where we're at? Probably. We have a church in Queens, and we have a church in New York City, Queens, New York City. And then we have a church in Long Island as well, V1 Church. And we have 2 kids. And we are quarantined to high heaven up in here.
Because you guys are like in the epicenter of where everything's going down.
Oh
in
my
New York,
gosh.
right?
Yeah, we're in the epicenter of the epicenter.
Oh,
and yeah, so it's been heartbreaking. It's been good. It's been whatever. I'm sure we'll talk about later. But yeah, that's a quick version.
dope. Pastor Vanessa, next.
Yes, I am Pastor Vanessa. My husband and myself, we pastor in Northwest Indiana at Road to Life Church. And I have 3 awesome kids, 2 grandbabies, and we planted almost 8 years ago, 3 campuses. Honored to be on the call. Thanks for inviting us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And before we let Real Talk Kim go, I just got to give a big shout out to Pastor Julie and Pastor Vanessa. You guys have been incredible to us at Relevant Church Niles. We follow you guys. We just admire everything you guys are doing. Yeah. Thank you, Pastor Julie, for allowing us to use y'all worship. We use you guys as worship in our service experiences online. So good thing to have you guys here. Pastor Kimberly, Paul Theer, come on.
Hey,
the one and only.
Real Talk Kim, man. And I'm
Real Talk Kim.
I freaking love those 2 women too.
Yeah.
So I honor them greatly. I'm Real Talk Kim. I pastor right here in Fayetteville, Georgia at Limitless Church. I got 2 incredible sons, 25 and 23. And
come on.
I get to do life. Listen, I get to travel. I get to preach all over the world. I'm just thankful that God ain't never taken his hand off of me. And I love people back to life. I love the hell out of people.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about.
So good.
So good. Been watching you, been following you for years. If you don't know, Pastor Kim, Real Talk Kim was on Pastors of Atlanta. And listen, killing it. Killing it. Was watching you on that, saw you, how you were just ministering in those streets. You're awesome, lady.
Man, I wasn't ready for that though. Listen, I wasn't ready. But God, I think God used that time probably for the best for me, because that was the most that year grew me. Man, it made me fall in love with Jesus a whole lot more. I never knew preachers that didn't fear the Lord. I didn't even know they existed. And so it just got me, it really grew me up. It really worked great for growing me up in Jesus, for sure.
Good. Good.
And last but not least, I got to give honor to my beautiful, amazing, Hershey Kiss, my wife, Pastor Christine. Give a little quick introduction.
I'm Christine. We pastor a relevant church, Niles, here in Niles, Michigan, and I'm so honored to have these beautiful women in my life that I can look up to, that I can lean on, that I can ask questions. They've been a blessing to me in my personal life and not just my life in ministry. So thank you, Pastor Julie and PV online. Real Kim, I've been watching you. So this is an honor to just share even this space with you. Yeah. So
thank you. The honor's mine. Thank you.
That's awesome. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, ladies, for being on here. But before we start, I want to give a special shout out to my mother for Mother's Day. And in 3 days will be her birthday. So happy Mother's Day, happy birthday. I'm extending Mother's Day for the whole week. Mother's Day,
yes, I like that.
The whole week.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day Happy Mother's Week to all you mothers.
For sure.
Thank you.
I'm taking that. Hope my boys are watching.
You got it. You got it. If they got a problem with it, tell them call me.
Yeah.
I might not answer though.
So ladies, we're going to give you guys a bunch of questions. Some questions are going to be deep. Some questions are going to be light and silly, but we just want you to be unfiltered. So we're going to kick it off. We're going to jump right in. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? You stretched out? Come on.
Look, they ready. They're throwing bows and everything. All right. We're going to start it off with question 1. This will be a blanket question. I want each of you to give your answer. You know, I don't want to rush you through it. Give your answer. I'll make time if we go past.
I told you we got to respect their time. Come on.
All right, here we go. If you weren't in ministry, what would you do for a living? Let's start with Pastor Christine.
I'll probably be a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
If I wasn't in ministry, either that or I'd go back to working in the corporate life. I used to work at Whirlpool Corporation, so probably go back corporate.
Sweet.
All right, Pastor Julie.
I'd probably be like running some kind of nonprofit. I've always been really drawn to like the nonprofit like sector, whether it be like, I don't know, charity, whatever. That's probably, if I wasn't pastor, I'd probably be doing something like that.
Awesome. Pastor Vanessa.
I would probably be flipping houses or something like that, just because we like to take nothing and turn it into something. I'm a visionary at heart. And so that's what I would do. Or people call me like a destiny getter-outer. So I would probably like speak potential and vision into people's dreams, you know, some sort of, I boost people, push them into their potential if I wasn't a pastor.
That's awesome.
That's good.
Real talk, you up?
I would probably be like a motivational speaker, like a Oprah. I would like to be one of those people that would be like, hype me. You can own the world. You can conquer the world. So I would definitely be like a hype. I would be like, man, I'd be a motivational speaker.
I mean, you're killing it right now. You're motivating right now.
I just like to see people like, get up, like just get up. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
I say either that or a hype woman at a rap concert.
There you go.
Good. That's good. This is awesome. Cool. Let's move right on into number 2. And again, all of these are pretty much gonna be a blanket question for all of you.
Yeah.
No disrespect. I'm just going the way that it looks to me on the Zoom call. So I don't want to beat up by nobody. Nobody come find me. None of that.
No worries.
You're
don't
good.
Google my address. None of that. All right, here we go, lady. What's your biggest insecurity in life and in ministry? And we'll start in reverse. Real talk, you go first.
I think mine is insecurity. Probably like I am the worst at beating myself up. Like I'll preach a sermon and then I'll be like, that was the stupidest sermon ever on the planet. So I think mine is probably feeling like, why am I even here? you know, because I was in special ed my whole life. Like I was literally had a parapro eating lunch with me my whole life. So I think that feeling of why am I even here? What is this? Am I being punked? So I probably I fight insecurity.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep. Pastor Vanessa.
Pastor Vanessa.
Yeah, I think that's for most pastors that we talk to, at least that's what it seems to be. But for me, it's also the, are you qualified to say what you're saying?
Yes.
You know, that whole,
Yeah.
I don't know, the whole like God ordained you to ministry, God called you, but you know, people are really good about making you know how uncalled and unqualified.
Yes.
You always have to be convincing yourself of your identity and like, no, I know who I am, because you know, people are just so good at reminding you, you are not the voice for me or whatever.
Yeah. So good.
Wow.
Totally.
She
okay.
So good.
Yeah, so good. So good.
Pastor Julie.
Yeah, you know what? I really identify. I know like when I'm going to preach all week long, the enemy will beat me up being like, you don't know theology enough. You've never been to seminary, blah, blah, blah. And so, and then when we first planted our church in New York, I didn't realize how like conservative New Yorkers can be, you know? And I used to have people waiting for me at the info table more often than not. It was men basically like, I can't believe you're a woman preacher. I can't believe like you would even preach, and they'd be waiting for me. And once I crossed that hurdle, I have to say now my biggest insecurity has got to be adult acne. Like what the heck? We are live streaming. I'm just keeping it raw and real. And like, honestly, when you asked the question, that was the first thing that popped in my head. So that's got to be like real what's on my soul.
That is wild.
So if y'all sell like the RNet, if y'all sell something, tag me in it. I'm out.
Something tag me.
I'm dying out here.
Give the lady some help.
Help me. So yeah, I mean, real, for real. That is like really, what?
Rose ointment really does it.
Dude, I am writing stuff down.
What?
I need chemicals.
She said she don't want no rose petals. She want all the chemicals.
Some bleach
and everything.
Something.
Right, something conjured up in a lab. That's what she's looking
Literally.
for. Absolutely.
That was good.
Pastor Christine?
Christine?
Man, for me, right when you asked that question, I just resonate with not feeling enough.
Yeah.
Going into this week was, man, my husband was there watching me record, and I stared at my notes the whole time. He's like, girl, you know it. Be okay. Be free to talk. Like, this message is you. It's your heart. You said you're not good enough. That's what you feel like. And really, that's what it is. It's a fear of failure.
Yeah.
The fear of not just failing others, but failing myself, feeling like I didn't do my best.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly trying to do my best, but my best sometimes ends up looking fake.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm trying to say it the right way and do it the right way. So that insecurity of I'm not giving people my best, I'm not good enough. So why am I?
That's good. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. That's so crazy. And when we see y'all on stage, y'all are so confident. You bring it. Every single one of y'all can preach. It's crazy. And so to think that you guys deal with some of these insecurities, it's like y'all are real people at the end of the day, you know, you're like everybody else. But Pastor Julie, you touched on something that we've got to ask us. We actually had this on the list to ask, but you triggered it to come even to the top of the list to ask.
Was it adult acne?
No. No, this has nothing to do with adult acne. But we will ask.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
We will ask a question about adult acne. What is your recommendation, everybody else, for Pastor Julie? No.
Leave it in the comments.
Yes.
In the comments. Everybody drop your links to your favorite facial and all of that remedies in the comments. Do that.
Hey, I'm writing it down. You thought I was joking. She said rose oil. I wrote it down.
I'm about to help somebody tonight.
I use rose. It works.
Okay, hold on. I've got to ask a question. What is rose oil?
Ointment. It's like a paste.
It's a paste.
Yeah, but I use rose I use rose like oil for
That's what I use, oil.
sprinkle lines.
I use oil.
Okay.
I've got perpetual bags under my eyes, so I need to use some rose oil too.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm upset now.
What?
The ladies came in and took over, and now you already doing makeup scenarios with them. Already.
Anyway,
We've been in here, what, 20 minutes, and you
I
already
got you.
Maybelline.
Okay.
Which Maybelline?
so next question. What was it? Maybe it's her, maybe it's Maybelline. Y'all remember that commercial?
Oh yeah.
So a few months ago, a major prominent pastor made a statement talking about women in ministry. And he specifically mentioned one, and somebody asked a question. He brought her name up. She's a prominent leader, Beth Moore. And his response was, sit down. And really that's a sentiment for a lot of people in ministry, especially a lot of the conservative take in ministry. You all have incredible platforms that are continuing to grow, continue to expand. What do you say when that man meets you at the connections table at the info hub and it's just like, wait, you're a woman preacher. Like that doesn't jive with scripture. That doesn't jive with me. What do y'all have to say about this? And we'll let you go ahead and kick it off, Pastor Julie.
Before you start, Pastor Julie, I want to tell everyone that is watching, go ahead and start sending in your comments for the lightning round. Start sending them in now. Great questions is what we want. We want to get these ladies on the unfiltered side.
Even more unfiltered.
We already got.
Let's just go there, right, Pastor?
Let's just go there.
Right?
Let's do it.
I'm there.
All right. Go ahead, Pastor Julie.
So so truthfully, what I did was like, I didn't go to seminary. I didn't, so I like went back and I was like, when all this kind of transpired with Beth Moore, and I'm like, okay, I want to know what I know. Like, am I I'm just questioning. I'm a questioner. I always want to know, and I was doing some research and there was this very prominent circle of people who are very theologically respected and whatnot. And they were talking about women in ministry and how if you accept that, what other concessions are you accepting? And I was like, concessions? Like what? Like they stood on, if you will accept women in ministry, then what other things will you accept into your faith? And I thought, man, but Jesus over and over accepted and empowered women. I mean, without women, we wouldn't have known about the resurrection. Without women, you wouldn't have the ministry of reconciliation. You wouldn't have known that there was, that there was an empty tomb. You wouldn't even have any idea that would have even happened, because the lie would have went out, and that's what would have been carried. They were the only ones that were bearing the truth. And so believe in women can minister, that doesn't unravel my gospel. That strengthens it. It adds power to it.
Yeah.
It adds diversity to it. It adds God's mothering heart into it, which is a real part of God. And so for me, I just say, my husband always says, well, if I think somebody else said it, if you were drowning in a pool and the lifeguard was a female, would you not allow her to pull you out of the pool?
That's good.
Come on.
I just bring that to them because they come right to my face. I mean, we've had many men storm out of our church and whatever. It's been a thing. But for whatever reason, it always goes back to me. And we just say that. And you know what? A few weeks ago, actually the last Sunday we had service all together, a guy came and he said, I actually came to this table because I wanted to tell you that I didn't want to receive your message, but your message touched my heart. And I want to thank you for preaching it.
Wow.
He's like, I showed up thinking your husband was going to preach. So, you just never know. And people are willing to change, but that's what I say to them.
That's good.
Real talk, Kim, you want to jump in on this?
Man, I'm just not deep at all, so I don't try to get into physiology or whatever that word is. I don't even go there. I'm just like, man, what's up?
Right.
And I just don't even play into it. Like, I really think people are scared of me. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're scared to ask me a question, but they real talk will get, I don't know. But I just usually tell them, well, God thinks so, because look, my fruit sure does look like he's blessing me.
Come on.
And so
That's
I don't
it.
even really play into it. Like, believe what you want to believe, but my fruit, it looks like he's approving. So I don't even pacify it.
Dope. Pastor
That's good.
Vanessa.
Yeah, it's going to be a conversation that is just going to continue until I think Jesus comes to take us home. It's just going to be a thing. But the fact of the matter is, if you're called by God, you don't need anyone else's validation. And if somebody's too insecure to listen to a word that you have to say, then they don't have to listen to you. They can turn a channel. They don't have to go to your church. They don't have to do whatever. But man, what people will miss out on when they don't tune in and hear. I mean, you have to look at the whole character of God all the way through the Bible. You have to look at like Queen Esther, and you've got to look at these people that God used in such a powerful way. And so if he didn't, you can see God affirming women all the way through the Bible. And when Jesus came back, he came to redeem everything. So yeah, Eve jacked it up, but he came and he redeemed that whole thing.
Yes.
So, and he said, there's neither Jew nor Greek, there's neither Jew nor Gentile, neither women nor men. I mean, we're both equal at the foot of the cross. So we are human. If blood flows, and we are human first. And so if you're anointed, you're anointed. That's it.
Yo, that's a mic drop right there. If you are anointed, you're anointed. Come on now.
That's when you pick up and you start
you're new to this.
Yeah.
So
I'm new to this.
you coming into ministry now, this is like you even accepting the pastor title has just been like this last 6-8 months.
Yeah.
Like, how has it been for you knowing that you come from part of your background is that like, hey, no women in ministry, no pastors. What's your take on this? How has God been shifting your heart?
Man, first of all, if that man came to me, I would have said, get out of here, man. Get out of here. But no, for real, they done took it all. Like, how are you going to make me follow all that? Like, literally, God affirmed women in the Bible like crazy. Like, I heard the question. I know I wasn't supposed to hear it when you guys were talking. And the first thing in my head was like, but hold on, who shared the gospel first? Who had the gospel in their tongue the first? It was a woman. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't by chance. God put those women there for a reason. And if God put those women there for a reason, he put me here for a reason. And I'm going to preach it regardless. Yeah.
Preach. Preach.
Yes, girl.
I like you. I like that little dark-skinned girl on this talk.
What's your name?
You might be able to hook me up. All right.
Nah, that's good. That's good, ladies.
That's cute.
That's hard to follow, really.
Yeah.
You should put your wife last. Why you do it like that?
You did me dirty. You put me last in front of all those amazing women. Really? Like, what am I supposed to say?
I'll be the nice guy. I'll make look. She done left.
Since she left. She said, forget that.
She done left the whole show. No, I'm gonna let her get it.
I love it.
Question. All right. Here we go. What is your biggest regret in ministry, and what has been your biggest win in ministry? We're gonna start with Pastor Christine, since your husband did you wrong.
Now you're doing me wrong, starting me first. No, repeat that question one more time. You said biggest regret in ministry?
Yep. And your biggest win in ministry so far?
My biggest win, let me start with that, is allowing God to use me and not saying no. And seeing the fruit from that, seeing people say, wow, I needed that message. And to think that if I didn't share it, they wouldn't allow their life to be transformed. So that would be my biggest win. My biggest regret is not listening to my husband.
Are we recording this? Because I need to replay just that.
No. Stop. No, but honestly, I'm West Indian. So I came from a Dominican, so I have a very harsh way of saying things. I don't have a filter, and I realize in ministry I can't be as mean as I used to be in the world. And
you can't be ratchet.
I
There you go.
thank you.
Thank you.
There you go.
She said, absolutely.
I can't say things with an attitude. I can't say things rude. I have to come across with love, and so that's been my biggest regret is not listening to my husband and saying things, and it actually has caused people to leave. Yeah.
Wow.
That's good.
I love that. I love that, man.
I didn't listen to your husband before, and I got in trouble too. So it's all good. It's all good. Pastor Vanessa.
This is a really hard question because I bet Julie could agree with me. We have a list of things.
I got a laundry list.
Yeah, I have a laundry list. Like this could take all night, you know. I try not to live in regret too much because if you learn from it, it's not failure, you know. So if there was a ministry fail and I learned from it, I try to just kind of put it away and not live there too long. But I definitely say one of the major ones is not having my priorities in order sometimes in different seasons, running too hard, and where I didn't pay attention to the right things at the right times. And so I definitely regret sometimes putting ministry or my kids or work or, you know, anything above, you know, my husband or the responsibilities that I had to nurture his soul. And I also regret ever ministering out of a wounded heart, you know, because there have been times, you know, we know as pastors, it's really difficult to have healthy relationships. It's difficult. You know, people want to get close to you. You don't know why. You're always kind of looking through a filter. And so I think for in ministry, ministering out of woundedness or a place of never trust your
Man,
tongue.
that's good.
Never trust your tongue when your heart is bitter, right? And so every once in a while when you're wounded by people that I love you and they wound you, and I love you and I wound you, and I love you and I wound you, and you're just so sick of hearing it after that point. And you're kind of like, Jesus, how did you get to the end and look at people before and think and still love them? Like, I just want to get to the end and love people still. How is this
so good? So good.
And so I wish that in a few situations I would have held my tongue until my heart
so
was
good.
That's good.
Yeah.
Love it.
Wow.
Love it. What about the biggest win?
You know what? I try to celebrate every little victory. And
Yes, girl.
And so I don't really know what my biggest win is. I guess my biggest win is probably the hardest time that I had to obey God, and I just did it. You know, I mean, I want to get to the end and hear, well done, good and faithful servant.
Yes.
So I don't really know what the win is. I guess the win is just obeying God when I didn't feel like it.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Pastor Julie.
Well, I also got a buttload of failures. We've got marriage podcasts for that. You can reference those at another time. But I would say my biggest regret would be having shrunk God's dreams for our ministry out of fear on what's doable, easy, especially out here where things are so crazy. Like, you know, where maybe I'd put pressure on my husband to shrink the vision down to not fail. So I've done that in different seasons, and thankfully he didn't listen to me, which is good. But there's a lot of, I wish I just would have like jumped in and believed first, but then, you know, I learned a lot of lessons through that too. So God used it. So that would be probably my biggest failure for sure, among a lot of other things. But I would say my biggest win was when we added an evening service. I was going to have my kids go home. I was going to get a sitter and have them not come to that service because they're in services all day. And they both cried because they wanted to be in church.
Nice.
And for me as a mom, that was a win because I always felt like, am I pushing them too hard? Like, I don't know, you know, but that was a good So I don't know. That was a win for me, and ministry wise, it was a win.
So good. That is. Real talk, Kim.
Man, I would say my biggest flop was when I was 21 years old. I was in Bible school at Rod Parsley's church, and I was singing on his front line, and I fell in love with this piano boy. And Pastor Rod Parsley and Lester Summerall said, "Girl, you better not. You go mess your life up." And I didn't listen. I left at 2:00 in the morning, went, packed my Yugo, and went and married him. And 17 years later, find myself at my mom and dad's at 36 years old. And all those years I wasted because I wouldn't listen to accountability and had a hard time with accountability. And so I'm thankful for the 36 years old through the 47 years old, which I am today, because God's making up for a lot of lost time. I'm thankful for the flop, because the flop got me to hit rock bottom. And the rock bottom, I found out who the rock was at the bottom, which was Jesus.
Come on now.
I got free from people. I
Yeah.
got free from what people think about me in the flop. And in the flop, I learned that God loves to use people with the worst past to create the best futures.
Yeah.
I'm
Come on.
thankful at 40 years old when I finally got to go full-time ministry. I'm thankful at 42 years old. I wrote my first book.
Come on.
I'm thankful at 47 years old. I realized my life is just beginning. So
Yeah.
the flop was, I wish I could have done this sooner.
Yeah.
Wow. What about the biggest win? And all
So
of
good.
this, what would you say the biggest win is then?
Man, getting to do what I'm doing today, man,
Yeah.
it's like, man, I'm just so thankful that I got rid of my pride. I'm so thankful that I got rid of my ego. I'm so
Amen.
thankful that I hushed until I healed. You know, I'm just so thankful that today, like everything I touch, God just blesses it. Like he trusts me.
Yeah.
There's not a prideful bone in my body. You know, I pinch myself every day. So the greatest reward is letting God take control.
So good.
And this ride is beautiful.
Yes, it is.
So
Amen.
good.
That's
actually right there. So on that note, exactly what you just shared about the 17-year lesson, how can you tell the difference between God's plan and selfish desires?
Whew! Selfish desire is hard work. You know, but when you got selfish desire, what I've discovered, because I did it my own way for so long, the selfish desire, I wanted what I wanted, and it was always chaos and confusion and tears and struggle and no support. I got haters. You got haters because you ain't in the will of God, you know? I mean, it's like drama, mama following you everywhere. And when you're in the will of God, truly, even the battles, even the hard times, even losing people from your church, it's just something about when you're the will of God, it's just easier. When your heart's really where it's supposed to be with God, it's just easier. You know, there's not a struggle per se. There's kind of like this place where it's almost like a tidal waves hit you. See, when you finally just trust in God, you just flip over and float. And whatever storm comes your way,
Yes.
you just like, it don't even fade. It hurts, you'll cry, but you don't cry as long.
Yes.
You know, so it's just like, it's easy. Like, it just doesn't make sense when God's on the scene. It just works.
Yes.
It just works. It just don't make sense, but it just works.
It flows like water.
It flows like, it really does.
Wow.
Flows like water.
That too, because sometimes in ministry you get accused of having selfish ambition, or you're only in this because, and I'm like, first of all,
Tell them.
trade us for one day for what we do. Like, there's 100 other things that would be way easier than this. Like, this is not selfish ambition.
Man, and you know what? Our hustle is holy. Like, we got to hustle.
Right.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
People think it's just so easy, Pastor, and you get to drive nice cars and live in this house. Baloney, we got to put up with you.
Hey.
We gotta put up with you.
Yeah.
That hurts my
Man,
feelings.
people will love you one minute and hate you the next. Like,
Yeah.
you got to keep your heart right. It's hard work. Pastor's hard work.
We say,
I am that person though. I used to think all y'all did was rode around in Mercedes Benzes and work for 1 hour.
He's
One
been
hour,
working
Work for 1 hour.
1 hour a week. You know, y'all dressed in white, all that. You know.
we always say you have to have thick skin and a soft heart.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't have the luxury to be petty. Like, we don't have the luxury. You know how many statuses I write wanting to get somebody back and I got to delete it? We don't have that right.
Yeah.
You don't have that right to be, you don't have that right. We got to preach when we're fighting. We got to preach when we're going through a divorce. We got to preach when our kids are in jail. We got to preach. Yes. You got to hold it together. You got to suck it up, buttercup.
Yeah.
Buttercup.
That's a word.
I'm gonna start a business. It's gonna call Pastor's Hate Mail, and I'm gonna do all y'all's hate mail for y'all.
He's like, he's gonna send it all for us on our behalf.
I don't even read it, man. If I see on the first few lines, it starts like I can feel those fingers, I just delete it. I don't even read it. Keep your hate mail. I don't read it.
I love it.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
That is the best advice that we ever received from Craig Rochelle when we sat in a round table with him with 20 people. And it was so freeing because he said, never respond to hate mail, like move on, because it will never, ever, 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 ever end.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's true.
So good.
Awesome. Moving on. This one's a little heavier. With pastors committing suicide, how do you not let ministry discourage you? We'll start with Pastor Vanessa.
Well, this is a very real topic in my life right now. Just because we have just gone through a sabbatical season, a lot of trauma that we dealt with from our past. And, we had to go back to like our childhood and kind of dig through like all the things. And we're still doing that for like the next year. We're just digging into those things. And so what you don't want to be is a wounded healer, but when we got saved, we started chasing the Lord and we started running as hard as we could. And I think we just never stopped long enough to deal with so we just went to a big conference and Lance Witt was there and he said, pastors, I know you have Jesus in your heart, but you have grandpa in your bones. Wow. And you got to go back and dig it out, and so we're like, God, why are we 45 and just doing this? This is painful and terrible and horrible, but God knows we probably couldn't have handled it before then. But this is something that's important. And then, again, you're walking through a difficult season or you're walking through trauma or you're trying to get whole. And then people, tell you how awful you are and unqualified because you're in a difficult season or a difficult place. And it makes it worse, so people don't like to celebrate your healing. They just want to point at your brokenness all the time. And it's just amazing to me. And so I read about the suicide and it broke my heart, but I understand it. I understand how people get to that place because I understand it. It's a constant barrage of passive aggressiveness online. It's a constant barrage.
People are mean, man.
It's all of it, and it never flipping ends. And so everyone's going to have to be responsible at every word that we speak, every idle word. And what that means is every word that doesn't produce anything good. And I just think we all got to be real careful.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Pastor Julie, what's your take on that? How do you stay encouraged in this with the weight of ministry on you?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a small Pentecostal denomination. I grew up in a small Pentecostal church. And one of, I think, the unintended values, they never talked about this, but one of the things that I learned is that God could do it without me, but he doesn't want to. He wants to use me. And I'm so thankful that that's in my heritage. I don't know how healthy it is, but you know what it does is it humbles me because there's a part of me that like, I know it's important to be present for my church, whether that be on social media. I know it's important to grow. I know all those things are important. But one of the things that was like instilled in me is that like, I have a ministry to the Lord first and foremost.
Mhm.
And that relationship is everything. And if I have a church along the way, then well, praise God. If I have a ministry along the way, if I lead worship along the way, that's great. But like one of the things that my husband always like reminds me is I'm a daughter first.
Yes.
And I'm a pastor and a minister, maybe third or fourth or fifth, you know, and the weight of the ministry, although it's on me and I feel it, and there are days when it is heavy, the thing that keeps me, because I could very easily go down depression. I've dealt with chronic illness over the last year and a half, and it has been hell. And talk about wanting to be depressed. Like I've wanted to, but there's something that just like, and I'm not saying, I know this don't help everybody, especially if you have crazy things that happen to you as a kid and all that stuff. But the thing that helps me is that I get to minister to the Lord in this way. And that if he gave it to me, he's going to lift that weight enough so that I'm not carrying it on my own. Like it's not on my own. Like Jesus is carrying the majority of my church on his back anyways. And he's allowing me to feel a measure of it.
Wow.
Because I get to.
That's awesome.
And that's how I keep saying.
Yeah, sure.
And grace really is sufficient.
Yeah.
You know, it really is.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right, Pastor Christine.
You want me to? No, I'm joking. I drank. Yeah, no, I'm joking.
No.
No, I'm joking.
I drink and smoke.
No, I'm joking.
Never mind.
Yeah, you're canceled. We're not asking you nothing else.
Mute her mic.
I was just joking. I was lightening the mood. It was getting so real and scary.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I remember going through those times. Hearing you guys speak is like putting my mind back to those times where I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too heavy. It's too hard. I just went through that recently. Like, I don't want this, God. Take ministry and move it elsewhere. I don't want it. It's too much. It's too hard. It's too difficult. And when I get to those points, I know there's women out there that are ready to just say, Christine, shape up. Really, we're on a battlefield. You're one of the soldiers. Get it together. So I know who to go lean on.
Because I know that's you guys.
So there's women that I'm not afraid to go to because I know that they're gonna shape me up. They're gonna speak life into me. They're gonna encourage me because sometimes I can't. You know that song, Encourage Yourself. I can't. There's times I can't. Reading the Bible, praying. I don't even want to pray to God because I don't know what to pray, you know. And I know I have to go to those women that are already grounded, that have gone before me, that have struggled before me, and they're still standing. Those are the women that I have to lean on because I've been through it. And ministry is heavy. It's heavy. It hurts. It's hard. And I can't do it alone. And that's why I'm glad that these women are in my life so that I can lean on. Yeah.
Real talk, Kim. So you have an incredible platform. So you were on Pastors of Atlanta. Hey. So people are seeing you. You can't get away from people. How do you deal with the weight of celebrity? Can I use that? Can I use the word? You know, how do you deal with the weight of celebrity, still having to minister, still having a family, and yet knowing that there's all these different pressures coming from all these different angles? Ministry is hard on its own. It's hard to do ministry in the face of the entire nation.
You know, I just made a commitment to myself about probably when I hit 40, I really made a commitment to myself, and I've really gotten it down to a pat. About 45, I just started, this is who I am. I don't move. I'm not like, I don't fit, I don't change for wherever I am. This is who I am. 100% of the time, this is who I am. I say what God tells me to say. It ain't always comfortable. If you like me, you like me. If you don't, you don't. I ain't gonna lose no sleep over it, you know. And I have great people around me. I've got I've got some great truth tellers in my life. I'm very, very, very close to my mother and my brother, and you know, I've got great pastors' wives in my life that, man, that they know me and they love me. And I think the greatest thing that I've ever given myself is just the transparency level. You know, this is me. Yeah, I've gone through it. Yeah, but this is in public eye. I think instead of hiding, I just put it all out there before anybody else can. You know, I'm 100% honest. And I found that people can't say, if you put it out there, if you're transparent with your life, then what are they going to talk about?
Right.
Well,
Yep.
You already talked about it. It is who it is. I'm walking through it, you know? So therefore it keeps a lot of the traffic out, a lot of the drama. They don't mess with me.
I love it. Love it.
That's good.
Love it.
Yeah, that's good.
So
Final round.
Final round. There might be a couple more coming through, but we're coming to the end of the show, unfortunately.
Yeah, we could talk to y'all all night. You guys are killing it.
Yeah, this has been fun.
Thank you so much again for being on this.
Yes. So I'm going to, we got two more, we give 2 more questions. We're going to do it like this. All right, everybody's going to answer this question. What one book other than the Bible has the most influence on your life? Pastor Julie, you go ahead.
Well, this is all credit to Pastor Vanessa, because I don't know if I probably didn't say this from the beginning, but we planted out of Pastor Vanessa's church. Hey,
come
shout
on.
out.
Hey.
So this is all credit to her, but she recommended a devotional called Sparkling Gems by Rick Renner. And that book has probably had the most profound impact on my life as a whole, because it developed a discipline in my life. So highly suggest.
Dope.
Super good. It's just a devotional book. I don't know that it's not any corporate leadership secrets or anything.
Any book.
It's about what gives
all
you life.
books matter.
Yeah,
Yes,
but I read
all
it
books
every day.
matter.
All books matter. Yeah, but it's really good.
Pastor Vanessa?
Okay, guys, I can't. This one's impossible for me because I read a book about every 3 days.
I knew you were going to say that. It's
I inhale books, and I could just, we could do an hour just on every book that I love,
Wow.
you know? Oh gosh, I don't know. Right now I'm into emotional intelligence because I think everybody needs it. I love Replenish by Lance Witt. We're reading a lot of soul health things. I love Creating Magic by Disney because it talks a lot about culture. I love Pavilion because I teach people how to live in their purpose. I don't know. I could go on for days.
You got a lot. We're just gonna have to do a whole show on PV's books, like
Yes.
book recommendations.
Now I want to know.
I heard that. Pastor Kim, you?
I like Battlefield of the Mind. I always got to go back to that book just because the mind, I think, is what cripples everybody. You know, if you don't learn to control your mind and renew your mind, you will be in a mess. That's why a lot of people are in a mess in their lives. They can't conquer their own mind. And so I read that book ever so often, just pick it back up again and read it again, just to refresh.
So good.
Pastor Christine, I seen you writing the name of that book.
I did.
Let me get your book.
I have 2 really. The one that hits me is by Blackaby, Experiencing God. Just understanding that crisis of faith that takes place, and that deepens your faith, and something else happens and deepens your faith, and something else happens, and so that just that cycle. And then also Dr. Robert Spina, Identity Theft.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Your identity in Christ. Like,
that's so good.
Ooh, that book, I need to read it, I think, once a year to remind myself where my identity should lie. Yeah.
Isn't that so crazy that all of us talked about that, you know, that all of us deal with the same type of deals? That means the world deals with it. So it's really cool.
That's awesome. That's
Sure.
awesome.
Final
Awesome,
questions?
ladies. We're going to end this in true relevant fashion
Oh boy.
with the question, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Or not. Or not.
A hot dog is a sandwich because it's got bread.
Come on, girl. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. I knew I always loved Real Talk Kim. Yes.
I quit. Hot dog ain't no sandwich. It's like on the side.
Listen, it's got, wait, we
It's a
got
total sandwich.
All right. Pastor Julie?
Listen, if it's got bread and there's meat in the middle, that mug's a sandwich.
Yeah.
I don't know. And you know what? It's quarantine, so you're using hot dog bread for all kinds of things.
Everything.
Peanut butter and jelly, roast
Yeah.
beef sandwiches,
Come on.
po' boys, whatever.
I love it.
Pastor Vanessa, your take?
No.
Oh! I can't believe this. I have so much honor and respect for you. What has just happened right now?
I love
Pastor
it.
Christine, you've had this before. Let's hear your take on it.
It's a sandwich.
Christine.
Your husband.
No,
It's
listen.
It's an American taco.
Oh, that's good.
There you go.
Come on.
American
American taco.
It's a
Funny.
Either way, it's weird.
Ladies, thank you. Thank you.
Hey, had fun with y'all, man.
You guys are incredible.
We got to do this again sometime, and I'm extending an invitation for myself to come to New York and Georgia.
Yes.
And I've been to Michigan City before. I could just hop over there, so I'm coming there too. Pastor Christy, I'm not coming to your house, y'all. Your kids. Wow. I'm just playing.
I say we all go to Georgia. I heard they're opening first.
They're already open. We're like already partying in the streets.
Wow.
My toes need to be done.
Come
It's
to
a
Atlanta,
bad-
baby.
I'm coming to your house.
You can come stay with me.
Let's
I'm
go.
coming.
Let's do a girls trip. Y'all come down this week.
What
I'm
about
home.
we'll come through. We'll carry
He
bags.
likes makeup
Bring
now.
some hot dog sandwiches.
Yes,
I want
yes.
some rose oil. I could use some rose oil too.
Hey, I'll take a little bit too if I can come. Come, man.
So thank you all so much for being on this. It was so much fun. Appreciate everything that you guys are doing in your ministries. We're watching y'all. We're just so impressed and so excited to see where God is taking y'all and how we can continue to learn from you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
So Pastor Vanessa, thank you. I'm gonna come hang out with you guys soon. Pastor Julie, I've got to get out to New York. V1 Church represent.
Come on.
Real Talk Kim, we're making it out to Georgia. We out there, girl.
We all coming.
I can't wait, man.
Yeah.
I have to ride in the trunk, but I'm coming. Coming.
Come on.
Pastor Christine, thank you as always for
Yes.
being you, but not really being you
What?
all the way. You know, she wasn't all the way unfiltered. I'm just playing. I just mess with her because I know her so well. I wouldn't do that to y'all ladies. Y'all are so nice. And I'm trying to get to Georgia and New York.
Look, he's
so-
buttering it up so he can get he's trying to get places right now.
No.
Real Talk Kim thinks we're kidding, but me and Julie are jumping on a plane tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's wild out here.
Out there.
I want to go.
Y'all
now.
can come stay with me.
Feel bad.
Awesome. Pastor Real Talk Kim, could you give just a blessing to everybody who's watching? Can you just give them a word? Just send them off right.
Yes. You know, I have been watching these comments. I am so excited about just the power and the anointing that is on this feed with us tonight. And I just want to tell y'all, this was a pandemic and it was the greatest thing that could ever happen to us because it gave us a time. I'm telling you something. It gave us a chance to recalibrate and reset because when God comes back on the scene, when this thing opens back
Come
up,
on.
you better be ready,
Come on.
baby. Because
Yes,
Joel
yes.
2:25 said God's going to give you back everything the
Come on
devil
now.
stole. And we're calling forth restitution. So get your seatbelt on and let's go.
Yay.
Let's go.
Let's
All
go.
right. Thank you, ladies. Again, Denver,
Thank you.
appreciate you, man.
Love you guys.
Love y'all.
Peace
Thank
out,
you
y'all.
guys.
Bye. Peace out.
Great
Happy
night.
Mother's Week.
Happy Mother's Week. Happy Mother's Week.
Yeah.
Yeah.